Welcome to Joe's Astrology, and we're talking about Scorpio. And Scorpio, what I want to focus on in this video is the fear of entrapment, because this has been a major theme in my life, and particularly if you have planets in Scorpio that are not the sun, and not the moon. I have Saturn in Scorpio. And I want to talk about this fear of being trapped because this is a major reason why Scorpio has so many problems. The sign, the eighth house, uh, Pluto, etc. And I've talked about this need for transformation in previous videos, which I may touch on in this video as well. But this idea, this fear of entrapment, and for me specifically, I will give myself up and give you some of my own personal story with Saturn and Scorpio. I've always felt, no matter where I'm at, particularly in work scenarios, but even in school too, I felt this fear of this place is trapping me, and usually it gets particularly bad when I don't have a sense of purpose. I don't really want to be there. I start to feel the pain of being there. So you can think of a work scenario where you're at work and you're 6 hours in and it gets extremely boring. And you're just like, the feeling overtakes you and you just want to go. You want to run. This fear, and it could be a lot of different things. It could be that it is boring, etc. But there's many people that have this same experience and they don't have this fear of being trapped. They might be bored at work and they somehow spend a lifetime in this boring, purposeless job. But for me, so many different scenarios, where I would either quit on the spot or quickly find another job, only to find out that eventually, at some point, whether it's 6 months later, 3 months later, 2 years later, I will get this experience of feeling like I'm trapped in life. And there's many other things that could be going on here as well. But particularly, I think it's just anytime you feel these bad feelings that aren't really real. They're just chemicals, neurotransmitters in the brain, etc., based on your environment, based on who knows what. Because when things are going well, as I said, I've been in situations when things are going well, I'm purposeful, I'm taking action, I can see things moving forward. This feeling of being trapped goes away. And particularly for me, the solution for me was and still is not working a job, having a little bit of control. Not saying I need tons of control, but having some control where I can stop when I want to. And that's just specific to me. Maybe it's specific to Saturn and Scorpio. But we can think about this in other terms of life as well. But I want to give one more example. If you've ever seen the movie, it's with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he Catch Me If You Can. And at the end of that movie, they give him a job working for the FBI in the office, and that is exactly how I feel when he sits there and he sees the stack of papers, and he says, "How long do I have to be here?" And he says, "Every day, or Monday through Friday, from 8 to 5 or something like that. Weekends off." And this feeling comes over him.
Carl, welcome to the FBI. I'll show you where you're working. Carl, how long do I have to work here? It's 8:15 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. 45 minutes for lunch.
No, I mean, how long?
Every day. Every day, Frank, till we let you go.
And that's the feeling that I get when I find myself in that scenario. It's like, oh my God, I have to do this. I can't do this. Just this feeling of being completely trapped. So, but there's many other scenarios in life that we could, if you have Scorpio, that you could find yourself in this scenario. You could say being in a relationship. Many people have the fear of being trapped in a relationship. I think these are probably the two most common examples that I could think of. As I said, I gave the solution for my case. This idea of being trapped at work. You think of a business person, a salesperson, someone who has their own business. So you think of if you're, selling anything. I know my father, he had a business, and he would come home at 3 o'clock every day. If he was working, he worked from 9 to 3, for the most part. If he was working for a company, wasn't doing his own deal, he couldn't do that. And I know that he would have that same, he's got a heavy eighth house. He probably had that same that feeling of lack of freedom that kind of position can give you. And he still made money. He still survived. He lived a good life financially, etc. So this is definitely something that can be worked out in life. But back to this idea of having fear, and this is Taurus. I should have said this earlier. Taurus or Scorpio, the axis. Anyone has stuff in Taurus, Scorpio, particularly not the sun, the second house, the eighth house, the nodes for sure, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars. This could definitely be the case for you. And that the relationship thing, the fear of being trapped in a relationship. And there's other things in the chart too, particularly the Mars square Venus, losing your individuality. This is a fear as well. Because all you have to do, just like the job position, if you can communicate to your partner, to your boss, to the company, what the situation is, and they value you, they will work with you. And if they won't, then you move on. But the same thing with a relationship. This fear of being entrapped in a relationship it's usually a fear, particularly for the person. So let's take for another scenario. Let's say a person is actually trapped in a relationship. This is not a fear. This is actually being trapped in the relationship. Same thing in the job. You're actually trapped in that relationship. You're trapped in that job. And you don't have a fear. Because if you had this fear that I'm talking about, you would leave. You would not stay at that job. Same thing with the relationship. If you had this fear, you would not be in the relationship. Just like in the movie, Catch Me If You Can, the guy runs. He doesn't last a week. Okay, so same thing. If you're in this scenario where it's a job or the relationship, it is a fear. It's not real. False events appearing real. That's why we're calling it a fear. So you talk to the partner, etc., and they usually, if it's a fear, you'll find out. You'll face your fear. They will work with you. They will work with you in the sense that it's not that they'll let you do whatever you want, say in the relationship, but they will have some empathy for you, and they will work with you, particularly in a relationship. They'll work with you emotionally. They'll be there for you when you're having a hard time to discuss it, etc. And the same thing with the job. Usually, the situations that I can think of, the people that I was involved with would have worked with me. So definitely a fear, something that Scorpio deals with, and at the end of the day, until it's faced and facing, I explained how it's faced. Until it's faced and exposed for what it is, then this fear will continue, unfortunately, and can cause all kinds of problems for the Taurus and Scorpio person.